Okay, so this is quite a challenging drawing, so let's start from the beginning. So I began this drawing in, I guess, quite a tentative way. I was really careful, measuring out guidelines, doing my absolute best to get proportions as accurately and mathematically as possible, which is quite counterintuitive to the way that I work. Ended up not being the best decision or idea. As you can see, the drawing progressing here, starting to work in some more tones and some forms. I would usually work with my drawings, which is applying tones and kind of searching out proportion and form, rather than the traditional way of sketching guidelines and that sort of thing, which is kind of how I started the drawing. I had this bad feeling, as I was working through it. I didn't feel comfortable and I didn't feel confident that I knew what I was doing, which is never a good feeling. Not every drawing you can make is going to be perfect, but this really wasn't going how I wanted it to. I just felt like, the essence of the subject that I was drawing wasn't there yet, and it should have been by now. The subject, by the way, is guitarist and singer Tom Misch, whose album What Kind of Music was coming out the Friday that I finished this drawing. It was really nice. Tom saw the drawing and he seemed to like it, so that was really, really nice, just as an aside. It didn't feel like this was flowing very nicely, and I couldn't really envision where it was going. So I took the decision that I needed to step away from the drawing. I took a couple days and I decided, I'm going to really make a distinct effort not to touch this thing for a few days, and spend some time with the materials, do some smaller scale studies, do a little bit of experimentation, and just have fun, take some pressure off, and just enjoy working with it and see what comes of it. So what you're seeing right now are those drawings. So you can see a lot of these were focused on, sort of basically just eye studies, where I came up with this idea of just doing some simple masked edges, which I thought was really nice in contrast with these expressive marks that I was making. So really, really pleased with how these came out, actually. This is a really encouraging exercise. I'm so glad that I decided to step back from the drawing and just have some fun. This was, a decision which I think really changed the course of this drawing. So, I decided that enough was enough. It was time to return to the big drawing. Act confidently, act decisively, and make the changes that needed to be made to fix this drawing. So, as soon as I got back to it, I just knew the proportions were off, and there was, just to me felt off. I'd laid down some tones which were helpful, but I knew that these needed to be knocked back straight away. So as you can see here, just wiping back some charcoal, which this is one of the key things that I wanted to mention in this video. You put in loads and loads of time and effort, focus, concentration on a piece of work. It's a really difficult thing to justify to yourself to literally wipe it all away. But if you're confident and you really understand yourself and your practice, I think this is something you'll learn needs to happen every now and then. It can be frustrating, but if you are committed to the drawing, and I think this, to me, was a real act of commitment. I wasn't afraid to discard the time that had already been put into this drawing, because really, it wasn't discarded, it was time that needed to be put in. You know how, for me anyway, if I'm writing an essay for uni, I need to allocate a certain amount of time to write just crap, just terrible stuff. I will just write and write and write, no punctuation. I'll spell really basic words wrong, just get loads of words down, because you need that feeling out process. And I find the same thing with drawing. Oftentimes, I need to make the wrong marks without a care in the world, just get some stuff down on a page, because now you're starting to limit that potential of what was just a blank sheet of white abyss of nothing, into limiting it. This one mark, although isn't perfectly aligned with where the chin should be, it's a hell of a lot closer than nothing. So particularly with charcoal, is a beautiful medium for that, really easy to add and subtract, and that's why I think it's so important to act with this balance, which I've really been trying to find, between confidence and patience, and this balance between focus and not being too restrained, because this is a really interesting kind of mixture of attitudes which I've been trying to find a balance between for a while now. I feel like I really started this drawing with too much restraint and too much anxiety about getting things just right, which is not how I work, and you should play to your strengths, not play to what you think, you know, the proper thing to do is. It just made no sense to completely change my methodology. So I found that as time went on, and I was returning to this drawing with this newfound confidence, these marks that I was making were a lot more decided, and I felt like they were just more thoughtful. But not so thoughtful in the way that the initial marks were. These were thoughtful in that they were instinctive, focused, but not encumbered by you know, the anxiety that I felt at the beginning of the drawing. And this is where it really started to free up, you know, these planes and shifts in tone I was really focusing on, while at the same time not being too tied down by making them exactly so, you know. Really making sure I got these planes defined and established, but happy to correct and manipulate the charcoal with wipe away or rub out or you know, scrape back or whatever it needs to be done to a drawing or a painting or a sculpture, whatever your medium. Don't be afraid to what feels like wipe away loads of hard work, because that trial and error process that now needs to kind of be reset is a huge part of the process of creating. So it isn't time wasted, it's time invested. And even though it looks like you're you know, 1 step forward and 5 steps back after you've just rubbed out an entire drawing, that time is going towards the end product of that drawing or sculpture or painting. So trust yourself, trust the process, and really make sure you follow through on the drawing, or you know, follow through on the work, and just take it all the way and complete it, you know, because then no matter how difficult or how frustrating it was to restart at those early stages, it'll all be worth it in the end when you realise why that had to happen. So thank you so much for watching. I really hope you're all staying safe and staying creative, and I really appreciate you watching this video. Thanks so much. Bye.